Welcome back to Cryptos Are Us. I am George. We're all George. So, I'm making a special live appearance tonight because I got something very urgent to share with you guys. I've gone down the rabbit hole. I did a lot of digging. A lot of digging for you guys tonight. And I believe Bitcoin, crypto, markets overall will bottom when this happens. I'm going to explain everything. Why all the uncertainty, why the tariffs, all the smoke screen is happening. It's 100% happening on purpose, and it's not going to stop until this happens. And I'm going to explain it tonight. Okay, I figured it out. I think I did. And I'm going to lay it out, and you guys decide. All right? Let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Welcome. We're starting out tonight, $83,000. Roughly around where we were this morning. We opened, the market sold off this morning, right? I told you guys it would because right before FOMC meeting, it always happens. I warned you guys even on my Sunday walk video this morning, yesterday's video. I told you guys it was going to happen, and it did, and everything sold off today, right? And it was just a bloodbath once again for all tech stock, and again, the usual stuff. Tech sold off, crypto sold off a little bit, not that bad. Tesla sold off crazily today, and again, more worries about recession, right? All the uncertainty, all the tariff scariness, all the stuff that we've been talking about for weeks or months now, right? So we're all looking forward to Big Daddy Powell to save us. So tomorrow we're going to have the FOMC meeting, and it's already priced in 99% chance that there will not be a rate cut. Even though people are hoping there would be one, there's no chance. 0% chance that we're going to get a rate cut tomorrow. So there's no need to hope. It's not going to come. So there's probably going to be a lot of questions tomorrow. A lot of reporters will ask Powell very difficult questions about tariffs and, what he thinks of them and how that's going to affect the economy, how it's going to affect inflation, how the Fed will respond to them, and all these things, right? And Powell's not going to have a really good answer other than he's going to wait for clarity, all that stuff. All that stuff. There's not much he could actually say, right? But I think, again, tomorrow Wall Street is going to pay very close attention to what he's going to say and so forth. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, but I expect tomorrow morning leading up to FOMC meeting, which is, I think it's 1:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, we may get a little more volatility before it happens, right? But here's the bigger story. I am now 100% convinced that this is all happening on purpose, okay? The tariffs, the uncertainty, why it's all so erratic, why it's all so sudden, why there's no clear guidance, okay? Why is it one moment there's a tariff, another moment there's an exception, and then there's a retaliation, and then there's another mention about another tariff to another country, and then there's another mention, and then there's like another, it just seems like there's no plan. It seems like, Trump is just doing it on purpose, right? Trying to cause a lot of panic. Now I am convinced there's a plan, and this is done on purpose. And he's purposely not sharing it. And I'm going to share. I'm going to share what that is. And that is why everything is collapsing right now. And here we go. Okay. So let's start out with, I don't know, where we're going to start out with. Let's start out with the 10, let's start out with this. The 10-year Treasury, right? There's a lot of focus on the Fed fund rate, which is what Powell controls. And, you know, Trump has no power over that whatsoever. He could try to influence Powell to try to cut the Fed fund rate, but ultimately Powell controls it, right? So that's what we're waiting for tomorrow. And, you know, Powell is going to try to do what he can to, you know, try to comply, but he is his own man, and he's not going to make irrational decisions. In the past, you know, he was under a lot of pressure and he still did not cave, right? But what can be swayed is the 10-year Treasury bonds. Okay, this is an important yield to move, because a lot of things are dictated based on this. For example, mortgages. Mortgages are mostly based on a 10-year Treasury yield. A lot of corporate loans are based on this, and even stocks, equities, a lot of equities, like the P ratios and stuff like that, is kind of measured against 10-year Treasury yield, right? And this can be swayed, okay? This can be swayed by numerous things, okay? Numerous things. So what are those things? Let's look at it, okay? Number one, when people freak out about the economy, like stock market crashes, geopolitical chaos, okay, that's one. Weak economic growth, okay. Global demand, okay, when there's other countries that are having their own issues, okay. Think tariffs. When there's all this retaliation with tariffs and trade wars and tariff wars, right? Guess what's going to happen? A lot of people are going to start buying, right? And it also lowers interest. Excuse me. Start lowering the 10-year yield, because when the demand is high, the yield goes down. So there are a lot of things that are happening right now that are driving the 10-year yield down. Federal Reserve actions, okay? It doesn't directly bring it down, but when the expectation is the Fed is going to cut their Fed fund rate, that also indirectly brings it down too, right? Lower inflation expectations, well, that is also what we're looking for, inflation to come down, right? So everything that's being done right now to freak out the economy, to tank the stock market, okay, to cause geopolitical turmoil, to cause weak economic growth, everything brings down the 10-year Treasury. Okay, that's number one. That's number one. All right, what else? What else can be swayed? You know what else could be swayed? The dollar. The dollar, the DXY. DXY is also coming down, right? DXY actually peaked out and it started coming down. By the way, both of these started climbing right after Trump got elected. Both started skyrocketing after November. So look at it. From November, the DXY climbed from roughly where it is now, 103, all the way up to 109. The Treasury went from roughly, 4.295 all the way to 4.77, right? So both skyrocketed after Trump won the election. So obviously the market got really heated after he won, right? But you can see DXY is starting to come down. So why would you want the DXY to come down? Well, let's look at it. Why would you want a weaker dollar? Well, a weaker dollar boosts U.S. exports. It also supports corporate earnings. It makes earnings look better. It also raises commodity prices. It also encourages tourism and foreign investments. It also eases debt for emerging markets. It also stimulates inflation when desired. That last one is not what we want, but the first five are exactly things that Trump wants, right? Things exactly that he's been saying that he wants. He wants to export more U.S. goods, right, to even out the trade, right? Make more money, okay? Obviously, wants our own commodities to rise in value, get more foreign investments. He has talked about that. So basically, everything that he's talked about comes from a weaker dollar from DXY, right? So both of these things, in fact, are coming down. And these are direct results of what's been happening in the last month and a half, 2 months, basically roughly since January, since everything started crashing, since all the tariffs been announced and all the uncertainty and Wall Street started selling off, all this started happening, right? So all this started happening. So this is not a coincidence. So this is 100%, I'm convinced this is 100% done on purpose. Okay. Now, I'm also convinced this is 100% done on purpose because just look at the two people that are advising Trump. Okay, we talk about these guys all the time. I mention their names all the time, and they also said, you know, there may be some short-term, you know, losses or short-term pain, but long-term, we're going to be good. Well, you look at the new Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Who is he? He's a hedge fund guy. He's a macro guy. He worked with Soros. He made $1 billion for Soros back in the day by shorting the yen. So he's definitely a big picture, long-term macro guy. Okay. So yeah. So, and then you look at the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who's the CEO and chairman of Cantor Fitzgerald, which was one of the biggest investment banks out there. Also a big Wall Street guy. Okay. So both of these guys are Wall Street sharks. So exactly what's going on right now, short-term pain equal long-term gains, is like exactly their playbook. It's like to the dot, to the T, is in their wheelhouse. So, you know, I think these guys, they have to play it cool. They can't reveal their plan because if they reveal their plan, it kind of ruins it. But, you know, now that you know the big picture and you know who's behind this plan, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. And I've already mentioned this before. Oh, that's not what I show. I already mentioned this before. Within the next 12 months, there's also about roughly anywhere from 10 trillion in the next 18 months, about maybe 12 trillion worth of debt that's maturing. Also, it doesn't help to have high interest rates, right? When you have to issue more bonds. So you want lower treasury yield so that you could issue more bonds at a lower rate. And that also helps, right? So there's so many reasons why you want the yield to come down, you want the rates to come down, and you want a weaker dollar. So this is why it's happening. So when will we get a bottom, right? That's the main thing. I'm saying all this. What's the point, right? Like now that you know all this, when is the bottom going to come? So just look at this. And this all aligns. If you go back a year, when was the low point? The low point was in September, okay? Low point was in September when the yield was at 3.64%. That happens to be the low point of the dollar, which happened to be about like 100. And wouldn't you know it, you go back for Bitcoin, that was the exact point around $52,000 when Bitcoin found the bottom and started going upwards. Now that you know that, it's not a coincidence. Remember Bitcoin in March, started going sideways, but it went down in a down pattern a little bit, right? And guess the exact point it started turning around was right there when DXY bottomed and when that 10-year treasury bottomed. And that's when actually Bitcoin started its upward trend. I mean, I even drew it out. I had this drawn for a long time. And now that I look at it, I'm like, man, that's almost exactly to, that's exactly right there. Right? So I think basically this is not going to stop. Okay, whatever's happening, the bottom is going to be when the 10-year goes back to around the same point as September. I think that may be the plan, to drive the 10-year back to roughly here, 3.64%, and the dollar back to roughly 100 for the DXY. I think that is a good, basically, bottom point. Okay, so whenever that comes, that could be soon. That could be within the next few months. Okay, that could align with the next FOMC meeting, which is May 7th, because then there is a 17% chance for a rate cut, a 17% chance, or the next one after that is June, and there's a 54% chance there will be a rate cut. Okay, so there you go. I think it aligns. I think it's more probable that it's probably, I don't know if it's more probable June or May, but Polymarket already has it. There are people that are looking at Polymarket, right? And Polymarket thinks that the rate cut will come before May, right? So basically May, that there's 100% chance that quantitative tightening will end. 100% chance. I don't know. Well, so I don't know if that may be too soon, but here's something else that aligns too. So I saw this from Altcoin Daily about a death cross that's forming. Okay. Now, death cross sounds bad, but a death cross isn't always bad. Death cross sometimes means that Bitcoin is oversold, and that's also when we bounce. Because you look at what happened in August, roughly around July or August, you could see how that death cross happened, and guess what? We went from 20-something thousand and then we shot up to 70 something thousand. Okay, so that was a clear example of a death cross being very good, and then we shot up. And guess what? Around same time frame, like July, August of 2024, same thing. We had a death cross. We did go down a little bit, but then right afterwards is right around that time when DXY and Treasury yield hit bottom. And then we shot up from that 50,000 mark all the way up to basically our high of $109,000, right? That was also after a death cross. So it goes to show you sometimes death cross is not a bad thing. It's actually when Bitcoin is extremely oversold, and then we actually turn it around and form a huge run up to the next leg up, right? So we're not that close yet, but if we continue this trend for, let's say, another 2 months until May timeframe, right, we could certainly break that death cross where the 50 and 200 crosses over, and then that's when everything aligns and we start turning upwards. I think that could very well align. That actually makes a whole lot of sense right there. So, I think that's reasonable. I think it's probably May. It's either May or June. One of the two. One of the two. And I did a little bit more digging just to have a little bit more. A little bit more. What I was trying to say, like, what is happening in May or June? Is there some other major event that's happening in May or June? So maybe all this is done, right? All this is done beforehand so that this major event is happening, or all this is done before this major event that's happened or this major event that's coming. And the only thing I could find, but this could be big enough, is the G7 summit. And this is coming in June. So maybe this is all being done before the G7 summit so that Trump could go to the G7. And this happens to be in Canada. This may be the reason why Trump really wants Canada to become a 51st state, because then the G7 summit would be in the US. I don't know if that's the reason, but it just so happens to be in Canada. But maybe this is all done before the G7 so that he could go to the G7 and brag about how he turned everything around in the US and how everything is now turning around and everything's golden, right? I don't know. But the G7 is coming in June. So I don't know if that is all aligning to that. But it is. It is coming in June. So I think it's going to be May or June. So anyways, that's how I see it. I think this is all done on purpose. Before, I wasn't quite sure. Before, I put bits and pieces together. I kind of theorized, yeah, this makes sense, right? But, I was hopeful. I was thinking, yeah, you know what? Maybe this could happen. This could happen. This could happen. Now I'm pretty certain that this is the plan. Nothing's going to change it. We're not going to bottom until the Treasury and the dollar both hit a certain point before we come up. And I don't know if that certain point has to be the same level that we saw back in September. I'm not saying it has to be there, but it does kind of make sense, because that's when that was a low point from the last year, right? And that's when Bitcoin actually started rallying huge from that point. So, and that doesn't mean Bitcoin has to fall to the same level, because Bitcoin's at 50,000 then. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think the markets have become so heated after Trump's election. That's the plan, to kind of unheat it and get everything reset once again. Right? All right. Anyways, that's what I put together for you guys. Hopefully that was helpful. I don't know if that was, but you know, I did a lot of digging today. I thought that was helpful, at least for myself. Now I know that's the plan and that's the expectation. That I don't think things are going to turn around for at least a couple months, no matter what, because this is the plan. The plan is to crash the markets. So I don't think anything's going to turn around the markets for at least a couple of months. Anyways, all right, let's do some Q&A. The good thing is, though, look at how strong Bitcoin has been. Even though, yes, we're down to where we are, 83,000, right? The stock market, the US market has been absolutely decimated and continues to be decimated. And Bitcoin has been staying at this level, right? Seller exhaustion is a real thing for Bitcoin. So even if the stock market continues to sell off and off and off and off, you know, there's a good chance that Bitcoin just stays where it is. I don't know about the alts. A lot of the bigger cap alts, like the ones I've been mentioning, the ones I hold, the big caps, they're trying to stay where they are, and there could be seller exhaustion there. But Bitcoin is staying strong, so that's good. That's good. All right, let's see if I miss anything. Julio says, George, how many times have you stepped on a Lego brick and almost cannonballed into one of Lego City? Surprisingly, never. But yesterday, I dropped a log on my pinky toe. It's like a 2-pound log. And it hurt badly. And it still hurt now. It's a very random thing. And don't ask me why I wasn't wearing shoes. But that's the closest thing to that. Someone says, imagine a surprise cut tomorrow. There's zero chance that's going to happen. Zero chance. David FP asks, when is the liquidity coming back into alts? Probably not until the bottom happens. Awesome, Austin. I don't think Trump overheated as much as Powell. I don't understand that. I don't understand that comment, but okay. The thing is, though, look at how fast. I don't want to get you guys all depressed. Look at how fast the markets moved from November to January. Okay. Look at how fast Bitcoin and alts moved from November. Okay, now let's go back from that bottom point of September. when rates and the DXY was at bottom, from September to January, look at how fast things moved within months. Okay. So even if we continued for a couple months into May or June going sideways and we find that bottom, that doesn't mean the bull run is over. I mean, we could be doing this right afterwards. From June on, we could just blow up. You know, things move very, very quickly, especially when the markets are oversold and money starts flowing in. Things could move very, very, very quickly. So, I mean, just imagine when that happens, everything will come back to life and we will recover in a big way. Big, big way. So that's how I see it. Thoughts on the Escalade IQ. I actually sat in one at the auto show, and it's actually really nice. Really, really nice. In fact, it might be the best, one of the best EV cars you could get. George, you've become very popular in the Middle East. Many people like your channel. Thank you. I did not know that. When I went to Dubai, people did recognize me. I don't. That's about it. I don't know about anyone else or any other countries. Meeting tomorrow, bearish or bullish? Jim Jam, I suggest you probably tuned in late. I suggest anyone that tuned in just now for Q&A, after I'm done, watch the stream from beginning to end. All right. I basically spent 40 minutes laying it all out. Tomorrow, what gets said tomorrow is completely irrelevant. I believe for the next 2 months, we're not going to get a bottom. So tomorrow is going to be completely irrelevant. Markets will continue to be bearish for at least a couple months. And it's planned on purpose to drop rates and to drop the dollar. And there's many reasons why for it. XAT, thank you for that super chat. That's a huge super chat. $100. That's a big super chat. I really appreciate it. Every chart is bottomed out. Right now can only go up. I used to think that. I used to think if all the indicators were oversold, it could only go up until it goes down more and becomes more oversold. Charts and indicators are lagging, or especially indicators. Indicators are lagging. Moving averages are lagging. Everything's lagging. So just keep that in mind. Rakar. I don't even know how to say your name. I'm sorry. I've invested in OM back in 2022. I've DC out most of my bag. It's down quite a bit. Can you check out if it's worth staying invested in? Love for a minute. Well, if you DCA out most of it, then you're fine. I don't even know what OM is. Yeah, honestly, I don't know anything about this project. It it shot up really quickly, and to me it came out of nowhere. So I actually don't know anything about this project. But it sounds like if you took profits and you took most of it out, you know, you're fine. And the market cap of this is still 7 billion, so it's probably gonna stay. MJ Matrix, do I see more downside? I don't know. Bitcoin seems to have stabilized around here, the low 80s. I mean, it dropped to 70s a few times and it bounced right back up. I could see it just staying around here. The overall US market can continue to drop. Tech sector can continue to drop. Tesla and Coinbase and MicroStrategy can continue to drop. But that doesn't mean Bitcoin will continue to drop. I think seller exhaustion, is peaked. And there are a lot of long-term holders that continue to buy. So I'm not sure Bitcoin will continue to go down. I did have a video before where I theorized that if Bitcoin did continue to go down, it would probably find support at this 73.8 if it did continue to go down. But so far, it's been holding very strong where it is. So it might not. It could just find a support where it is right now. Omar, what are the negative things to look out for tomorrow, FOMC? I mean, there's really nothing. Unless Powell says, he's not going to say it. Unless he's like, I have no plans, or we have no plans to cut rates this year. If he said that tomorrow, we'll get like a minus 3,000 point day. But he's not going to say something like that. He's just going to say, we have to wait and see. He's going to say, we need more clarity about the tariffs, and we're not going to make any decision until we get them. That's the only thing he could say. There's nothing else he could say. So I don't think there's anything to worry about, but markets may still sell off regardless. Ricky, I think after we find a bottom, which I think could come May or June, then we will have a very quick recovery because we will be extremely oversold. I think that is what's going to happen. The bull run will continue, but I think this is all done intentionally. And after it's done, then we will recover. I think it's probably going to last for another 2 months. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be done sooner than that. But I think it's probably going to be another like 2 months. Unknown is writing in Japanese, which I cannot read, but thank you. Am I going live tomorrow night? I may, because it's DCA night. I haven't DCA'd for a long time. I may do that tomorrow night. Stay Calm says nothing is flipping ETH. Nothing. ETH is suffering just like everything else. It's kind of hard to believe that ETH is under $2,000. But then again, it's hard to believe that Solana is under 100 and 130. A lot of things have come down a lot, but you could view it as it's a really good buying opportunity for almost everything at this point, including Bitcoin at $82,000, $83,000, which is insane. But I think we're going to bounce back very hard. After we find our bottom, we will bounce back. It's just unfortunately, I'm now convinced that we are not going to bounce back until this orchestrated collapse is over. Is Sailor out of money? You know, I made a video this morning about Strife. You know, Sailor's a very smart guy. He understands the stocks much better than me. But I'm just getting worried. I'm getting worried that he keeps issuing more stock and different kind of stock. You know, basically essentially leveraging as much as possible to buy more Bitcoin, right? It's a little concerning. Again, he's a smarter guy than me, so maybe he knows exactly what he's doing and there's no risk. But a lot of people are starting to get concerned about how much he's leveraging to buy more Bitcoin. So maybe someone very, very intelligent can figure it out. But Strife does not sound better than Strike. There could be up to 2 years where you don't get your dividend. So, yeah. Do you think Sailor over leveraging can cause a major crash? Well, Sailor always said no matter how low Bitcoin goes, he will never get leveraged. He will never be forced to sell Bitcoin. If that is true, then we never have to worry about it. We never have to worry about it. But if somehow that's not true and Bitcoin ever falls to a point where he has to sell his Bitcoin, then we will be in trouble. But if what he says is true and he will never have to sell his Bitcoin, no matter how low Bitcoin goes, then we have no worries. I don't think anyone knows. No one knows except him. All right, guys, I'm going to get going. I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow morning, but I plan on streaming tomorrow night for DCA night. I did tonight was a little bit different. Hopefully most of you guys enjoyed tonight. It's not my usual bullish self, although I'm still very bullish, and I think we're going to bounce back very hard. But I am kind of convinced that, this is all orchestrated. All the uncertainty and the market crash and everything is done on purpose for a reason. And it can't be shared, because if it is shared and everyone knows it, then it kind of defeats the purpose. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time as usual. I'll still find something interesting to make for you guys tomorrow morning. All right? Have a good one, guys. Take care.